Hello and welcome back to IndustryBroadcast.com for audio article number 77. Today's audio article is written by Drew Sikora, who is the executive producer and newsletter editor over at GameDev.net. And the article that's being read today is an excerpt from the book Business and Production for Games, a GameDev.net collection. Part of a new GameDev.net series, this book features a compilation of game production and business articles from GameDev.net on topics such as security issues, creating a budget, pitching ideas, contracts, and legal issues, chosen by the editors of the site. All of the articles have been updated and revised for the current technology, and the book also includes brand new articles never before published. You can find a link to purchase all of the GameDev.net collection books in this article's post, or by going to GameDev.net and looking in the featured books section on the right-hand side. Audio article number 77, titled Basic Team Building and Management, written by Drew Sikora and read aloud by Drew Sikora on February the 22nd, 2009.
There are many ways to build and manage teams these days, and no one way will benefit everyone. Many things will dictate how you will construct your team, how you will structure your team, and how you will keep track of and manage your team. However, there are several general guidelines that you can apply to almost any situation that bear keeping in mind when you are doing any of the aforementioned things. These guidelines are aimed to help you bring together individuals who are in line with your game development goals and then keep them happy and productive as they work together during their time with the team. Three main types of people will benefit from reading this chapter. 1. People looking to assemble a team for a project with no intention of staying together once the project is over. 2. People looking to assemble a team for a new studio and retain that team. 3. People looking to join an existing project or studio team. While primarily aimed at newcomers of team management who fit the first two types, hopefully experienced managers and team leaders will gain some additional insight or reinforcement as well. Additionally, if you're a developer looking to join an existing team, the guidelines from this chapter can help you decide what team would be best for you and what to be aware of while on that team. Before you even begin to look for others to work with, you have to turn your thoughts inward and ask yourself three very important questions. The answers to these questions will guide you in your search for teammates. Question number 1. Who are you? An honest assessment of who you are is the most important part of the self-evaluation process. Don't make up ideas of what you want to be. Take stock of your current situation and face this question with honesty. This includes things like your current financial situation. How much can you afford to spend on a new venture, or, if you're looking for new employment, how much money do you need to stay afloat? What is your current skill level? Are you an experienced developer with a few published titles under your belt? Are you an experienced developer but have only worked on small indie or mod projects? Are you fresh out of school or coming from another profession? What's the commitment you're bringing to this venture? Are you looking to just make small indie games in your spare time? Are you looking to start up a studio and work on AAA games? I'll repeat myself one more time to drive home the importance. Be honest. If you make yourself out to be more than you are, you're setting yourself up to fail. Question number 2. What do you like doing? When you consider this question, you're thinking not only about the genre or platform, but also the scope and difficulty of the projects you're going to be working on. Scope relates to things like the size of your target audience, the breadth of content you want in your games, the number of players that can participate simultaneously, etc. This then plays directly into difficulty, which is where you consider the assets that you have available to you and how that will affect the products. If you are a small independent studio or hobby developer, creating an MMO can be a daunting task, though not impossible. Take what you learned in the first question and apply it here. If you remain honest with yourself, you won't set goals that you cannot achieve. Question number 3. What is your goal? This final question ties everything together and gives you a direction to head in. It's the most important question when considering who you want to work with, but it requires careful and honest consideration of the first two questions beforehand. Are you looking to get into games as a hobby or a pastime? Are you looking to just get some experience under your belt? Are you looking to start up a game studio and get into games full time? This question is important and gives you direction because you don't want to work with people who do not share the goals and desires that you do. Realize also that sharing goals and desires needs to be similar and not exact. This is taken on a case-by-case basis and relies on the scope of the team's work. So don't, for example, refuse to work with someone who is looking for development experience in their spare time, like you, but wants to just continue as a hobbyist afterwards, not like you. If the scope of the team is just that project, then the goals and desires past that project do not matter. The next part of this chapter discusses 3 general examples of team structure and composition as an introduction to how teams can be organized and managed. The 3 examples are a small student development team, a medium-sized independent development team, and a large AAA development team. Each of these examples showcases the difference in size, experience, and goals. Following this section, 5 important guidelines are reviewed covering how best to choose the individuals that you would like to work with. Finally, 5 more guidelines are reviewed, this time to highlight some of the most important management ideals you should have in effect as a team. I will share with you the one most important guideline from each of these last 2 sections. For choosing team members, it's to always remember that you have to work with them. This is what decides everything. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how talented they are, it doesn't matter what extra skills they possess, and it doesn't matter if they happen to be one of Will Wright's childhood buddies. If they are an ass, don't get along with anyone you sat them down with, and always refuse to believe that they have been proven wrong about anything, among other dubious qualities, then you don't hire them. Period. Never forget that you aren't hiring individuals, you're hiring team members who have to work closely with other people for extended periods of time. Don't forget as well that over that extended period of time, which can be months to years, even the smallest, teeniest, tiniest little character flaw you noticed in the beginning and dismissed as insignificant can grow and become a serious problem later on. True, that's not a definitive statement, but if you hear warning bells in your head at the beginning, best not to chance them growing louder as time progresses. Let's also be clear that this applies for the obvious cases. Many across the industry slip by unnoticed only to rear up without warning later on. Perhaps they are always set to go off, perhaps a new factor during development or in the team set the stage. Be mindful of sleepers, but that leads us on to the next guideline. For management, the most important guideline is to recognize and handle conflicts immediately. Things can still go bad in teams despite all the precautions you may have set in place. Therefore, your last precaution is to be ready when all of your other precautions fail. Hopefully, if you've managed to keep people happy and working well together, nothing bad will ever come of it. If something does, then there's a good chance that it will be brought to your attention right away so that it can be dealt with. If your team doesn't get along well and/or the people don't communicate well, it could take days, weeks, or months for problems to make themselves readily apparent. Under these circumstances, you could end up losing team members or the entire project. The moment you have a problem involving 2 or more people that becomes apparent, you need to solve it. There are 2 ways that you can solve problems. You can lead all parties to reconciliation, or you fire people. It really is that simple, because without reconciliation you're going to end up losing someone anyways, so it might as well be the person you don't want sticking around. This means that if the parties involved cannot settle their differences, and these differences are beginning to spill over and affect the rest of the team, you need to let go of the people who will continue to cause disturbances in the future. Just as when you hire people you can't look at anything but their personality, so it goes for firing people. Yes, you may be losing the best programmer on your team, but what happens if you decide to send off the victim instead of the perpetrator because he held less programming skill? What's stopping the next programmer who comes on the team from also being rubbed the wrong way by the senior coder? Now you're in the same situation all over again. Any dispute between team members can grow to affect others on the team. Some people will take sides while others will want nothing to do with any of it. One person will refuse to work with another and their task will screech to a halt, which will create a cascading effect as dependencies slowly grind the whole project to a standstill. Morale will plummet and some team members will simply quit before any resolution is reached. Total decimation of a team is the sole result of failure to recognize and handle brewing conflicts between team members as soon as they arise.
And this brings us to the end of audio article number 77. Once again written by Drew Sikora, the executive producer and newsletter editor at GameDev.net. As I mentioned at the beginning of this article, you can head over to GameDev.net, look on the right-hand side in the featured book section for more information and ways to purchase any number of books in the GameDev.net collection book series. As always, we recommend that you check back frequently to IndustryBroadcast.com as we do our very, very best to update the site on a regular basis, bringing the collective insight of the gaming industry